All right, let's just take a quick look at some grammar for this chapter. So the indicative mood, first and second and third person singular. If you're not familiar with this, first person is like the I form in the singular, and then second person singular is a you singular form of a verb, and third person singular is a he, she, it form of a verb. Now, English used to have this quite a lot. These days, we don't have it very much. Mostly, we just change the third person singular of a verb in the present tense by adding an S. Although, with the being verb, we do say things like I am. Am is the I form or first singular form. And we can say you are, that's a second singular. And then he, she, it is, so that's a third singular form, right? So the am, are, and is are first, second, and third person singular. So in ancient Greek, all verbs will have different endings for these kinds of verb forms. So here we go. We're going to look at the present indicative and these three endings, first, second, and third person singular. So they give you the examples of elauno tus bus, I am driving the oxen. Elauno ends with an omega. That is an I ending or a first person singular ending of that verb. Ti katiodes ends with the ace ending, which is a you singular or second person singular form of the verb. Why are you sleeping? Now, of course, we've seen a lot of the epsilon iota endings that's pronounced a, and that is a he, she, it ending, as you've seen in vocabulary previously. So let's look at a couple charts they give us down below. First, luo is a basic verb that is what we call a consonant stem, and it's kind of the most straightforward type of Greek verb. So luo means I loosen or loose something, that is release it. And then lues, the lues means you loosen or are loosening or do loosen. And then lue means he, she loosens or is loosening, does loosen. Note that Greek really only has the one verb form, luo, that equates to all three versions in English. I loosen, simple present, I am loosening, present progressive, and then I do loosen, which is a kind of emphatic present. So all of those can translate the Greek. And when you are translating, you can just choose whatever sounds best to you in context. Now, the next verb they give us is what's called an epsilon contract verb. Essentially what happens with verbs like this is part of the verb stem or root ends with a vowel. In this case, the epsilon vowel, so pile, that's the stem of the verb. And when that epsilon combines with the endings o, as, a, it changes the way the word is said a little bit. So in the first one, pileu was the original verb form, but they said it really fast and it came to be pileu. So essentially what happens is the accent changes, and on that last syllable you go up and down, up and down. So the next one originally was pilees, and then it went to piles, right? And then on the third one, originally it was pilee, and then it went to pilei. Okay, so hopefully you can hear how we go up and then down on those. Those accents are called circumflex, and again, it looks like a kind of arc that goes up and comes down, right? So you've got a rising pitch and then a falling pitch. Greek accents are pitch-based, which is difficult for us, and I certainly don't always get it right. It might come a little bit easier if you are, if you grow up speaking, say, Chinese, where they have pitch accents. All right. So we get one more verb here. This is the being verb. The stem is S. This means to be. And then a me means I am. A, you are. Esti, which we've had several times already. He, she, it is. Now note that there is an asterisk for a me and esti. And that asterisk tells us that those words are kind of special. They are enclitic. What is an enclitic? An enclitic is a word where its accent will often fall back towards the word in front of it. So sometimes the accent can entirely disappear. See if I can find an example of this here for us. Let's see. In the story, do we have one? Aha, yes. So in the second line, we can see on this page, it says despota at the beginning, then it says ugar argos emi. So the emi, if you look at that in a vocab list, the word emi, which means I am, would have an accent on that final iota, but then it would also tell you it's an enclitic. And so you'll notice there is no accent on emi. Of course, there's the smooth breathing on the first syllable of a, but there's no accent on the word emi. That's because the accent has fallen back towards argos. And you'll notice that argos has a forward acute accent. Now that's because it has fallen back from the emi and has ended up on the last syllable of argos. Now, normally, if you have an acute on the final syllable of a word, that turns to a grave when there is another word following. For example, you can look at Allah later in the line. Notice that that accent has turned backwards. That's a grave. Or you could look in the next line at kai, and you'll notice that the kai in front of sulambane, the kai, the accent has fallen back to a grave again. So the fact that argos has kept the acute, that's because emi is an enclitic. Now, if that sounds a little bit weird to you, don't worry. It's something that you get more and more used to as you're used to dealing with Greek accents. You can get whole books on Greek accents, and when I was in college studying Greek, I did this, and it was a lot of fun, and I poured through the exercises, and I learned all about accents. Accents really give people some trouble sometimes, but once you get into them and you kind of like go at it all out, it's not too hard to master them. There's some simple rules, and really just with enclitics, it gets a little bit funky, but you can, memorize those and figure out that system if you pay attention. All right, well, that is the verb system here that we have. So I hope that made sense to you, and I hope you got at least a little taste of some ideas about Greek accents. We'll talk more about that another time. Okay, erostai, pante.